What I drew inspiration from was just taking normalcy, and it's how you repeat things or show things in a frame to get an uncanny valley of eerie or weird or off.
Who are you?
I'm him!
Who are you?
I'm him!
First of all, Justin, I'm going to start with you, both as a co-writer and director of this piece. I'm curious if you could sort of give folks, I know it already, but folks that don't know, your journey to him and sort of the Jordan Peele of it all.
Yes, the journey and Jordan are intertwined. My first feature came out in 2017, and that's when Jordan just won the Academy Award and started Monkey Paw Productions. So he had seen my feature, this very tiny movie called Kicks, and wanted to meet and was a fan. He planted the seed then and said, I hope we could find something one day. The first TV show I took after Kicks, the first day on set, actually my father died unexpectedly, and 2 weeks later I was back on set. So yeah, I coped by being on set, and I can only look back and understand that now, but I actually started writing another original, and then of course as soon as I was ready to do that, they came knocking and said, hey, do you want to pitch on this script we have?
And let's talk a little bit about that pitch, because I think you've said like you came in with a very clear vision as to what you felt this was, and that really kind of hooked Jordan in that first conversation.
Yeah, I off the top, I was like, body horror is inherent in the DNA of the game, and so I wanted to lean into the psycho horror of it all. And then I came in with comps that were maybe unlikely or unexpected. So I actually started off by saying what I wanted to do with the emotional arcs of Cameron Cade and Isaiah White, played by Tyriq, and Marlon's characters, and was referencing post-Vietnam films. So I was referencing Full Metal Jacket, Apocalypse Now, and then that led to like the Jacob's Ladder, which is dealing with PTSD and what's real, what's not, and the trauma. And then from there, from that emotional I expanded on into the genre mashups, which was terrifying and exciting because there were no comps.
There really aren't, but you can really feel it. It's so specific. It's of the culture, and it definitely is a movie that I know was built for like an audience reaction, and so I really love hearing how audiences are reacting to it. Tyriq, for you, sir, I know that it was your work in Atlanta that sort of brought you to Justin's attention. Was there ever a moment when you were going on this journey you were like, I don't know, or how did you approach it when this was pitched to you?
That was a whole like situation where I'm meeting them on Zoom at like 2 in the morning, and I think the initial conversations that I had with our casting director Carmen Cuba, I thought it was going to be about the script and whatnot, but it was more so about life and grief and identity and loss and love. And by the end of that 2-hour conversation, we're both in tears, and I think that's what scared me most about this script was that self-discovery, ripping open my childhood, my past athletic life and whatnot, and I think that's the beauty. And I think what scares me most is what attracted me the most to this film. It's a healthy balance between, applying my athletic days into my creative ones, and I think the discipline, the commitment, perseverance, and want to prove myself on the field is exactly what I applied to this story, and quite literally Cameron's story.
I'm curious for you, Taylor, when you talk with Justin, how did he approach the different sort of sections of the film as far as like how he wanted to approach the editing and make it feel so different in those sections?
What I really appreciate about how you approached this film is that Justin wasn't like limited by the form or the genre itself. He really looked at the sport as like all encompassing, and it's a lot of things. There's a lot of themes, but one of the big ones is contradiction. And I think those were reflected tonally in this movie, and you'll see that kind of in 3 parts. And even from scene to scene, we make a lot of really sharp shifts in tone, and a lot of that is kind of to reflect the duality of the sport. It's like glitz and glam, but it's also extremely violent. It's spectacle, but also exploitative. And I think, having both things exist at one time, trying to explore that in this kind of structure was just a way to kind of expose that story.
Kira, for you as the DP, knowing so much of Justin's inspirations were around grief, how did you apply that into the shot list?
I think in prep we had a good amount of time to really sit and talk broadly about the film, talk broadly about Justin is really great about having references, but then also not being super like dedicated to each one, but more of just like this is the feeling, that he wanted for different scenes. And I think what was great is that in prep it was conversations between me and Justin, between our production designer Jordan Ferrer, between Dawson, our costume designer. And I feel like what happened was we were all really very unified in our process, so we were able to make something that was super cohesive.
Bobby, for you, for folks that don't know, I don't even know if I would say this because there's been stuff in your filmography, but I think this film stretched you even. Like they got you doing like hip hop, they got you doing like he's like, yes, this is a lot. What was the one that you were most excited to play with? I won't even call it the challenge. What was the one where you're like, I haven't gotten to play here that much before, and this film gave me that opportunity?
When Justin and I first met, it was like immediately clear that we'd kind of, even though we'd grown up in different countries, like we'd had a really similar experience. We loved all the same music. My parents always played music all the time. I'd had decks as a teenager. I would DJ and I would scratch and I would make my own beats. But I was playing classical guitar at the time and I was in a metal band. And then I was like, making avant-garde like sound art at university. So like, honestly, like this movie and the way that Justin made it, and the genre mashup of it all, like this is something I've been wanting to say like musically my entire life.
As I mentioned, that genre mashup, department heads existing at an incredibly high level, and of course, a lead actor literally just chewing the scenery. All of that comes together in that final scene. For you, Justin, talk about where that was in the shoot, how you set that up, how y'all sort of like plan that.
Talk about PTSD. First of all, for all you people that work in film, we weren't allowed to get blood on the field. It was windy. We survived a sandstorm.
The floaty thing flew away.
Was flying away. But where that came from, and I actually made Tyriq watch this movie before we shot. I made him watch Holy Mountain, Jodorowsky, Acid Trip. And because also we were confined to a sandbox monetarily, what I drew inspiration from there or anything Lynchian was just taking normalcy, and it's how you repeat things or show things in a frame to get an uncanny valley of eerie or weird or off. Because we are on this descent from the moment he steps foot on the compound, visually, musically, everything starts to devolve. Bobby's using MRI CAT scan sounds and running them through the synths, and but that's juxtaposed with chapel inspired light coming from God. And it was the most difficult scene we cut, for sure. It was like a tornado of things happening, and it was one of those things where the music had to solidify it and Tyriq's modulating his performance of both a badass, suddenly action hero, but also like breaking down, crying, and madness. And that's which is one of the most incredible moments also. So it was like a tornado of things happening, and that's when like Jordan would come in and we'd get eyes on it, and eventually came to where it came to.
I'm glad you took it there. Thank you very much. I want to thank our incredible panelists. Thank you all for watching.